and some analysts have estimated that more than 10 million people could lose their health care. And one political concern that's been raised is that due to the way Donald Trump in particular has reshaped the Republican coalition to make it more a party that depends on the votes of lower income working class voters, there are a lot of Trump voters on Medicaid who might be displeased by the passage of this bill.
The big beautiful bill is what it was called. That is until the leading Democrat Chuck Schumer got up in the United States Senate and said, let's not call it that. And somehow he managed to pull that off. It's not called the big beautiful bill anymore, which was the title that was given to it by President Trump. It's waiting to go through, and as that happens, it'll head on its way down to the lower house, the House of Representatives. But there'll be more battling and struggling to go on in the lower house too. This bill, it's divided the Republican Party. It's certainly divided American politics, and it is also, I don't know, it's a journey to a large extent into the unknown. You've got Elon Musk now, who's renewed his fiery feud with President Trump, with all that might mean. Unless, of course, it doesn't. So let's welcome now back to the programme, as always, Molly Ball from the Wall Street Journal. Hello to you, Molly.
Hello to you, John.
Molly,
happy Tuesday.
It's the happy Tuesday. I mean, how happy do things look on Capitol Hill right now? Where are we with the bill? How you even have a name now, Molly?
It actually is formally called the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. They ended up just giving it the official name after that moniker that Trump had assigned to it, which seems appropriate since it is sort of a grab bag of different provisions, mostly budget related. But what has just happened in the last hour is that it has finally passed the Senate after a really grueling overnight Senate session that featured basically all day and all night. The members of the Senate have been offering amendments and negotiating and wrangling and going back and forth as the Senate Majority Leader John Thune tries to get just enough votes to pass the bill. And finally, they did hold the vote. I think there were some senators and others holding their breath when that happened. It really was not clear, even at the last minute, if he had the votes to pass. These had been some very tough negotiations, and he had lost 2 votes with others up for grabs, but they did pass it. It was 50-50 in the Senate, which means that the Vice President, J.D. Vance, can break the tie, which he did. So the final vote was 51-50, but it's not over yet. No. It has not passed yet. It now has to go back to the House. They have to approve it. This is after it already only passed the House earlier by a 1-vote margin, and the Senate has changed it substantially, which is going to set that delicate balance between the different wings of the party off kilter, and it is now an open question what the House is going to do with it.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great big open question. It's a mighty great pantechnicon of a bill. It carries on the existing tax cuts. It adds to them. It means no tax on tips and I think car insurance and overtime. That was the sort of election-winning stuff that Donald Trump chucked in before the election. And then you've got these savings, these cuts in welfare provision, Medicaid, health insurance for very many Americans, and including, of course, migrants. Some of them have been in America for many, many, many years, which is, that pan-technical nature means it's come out of fire from, well, just on the Republican side, from senators from every direction, fiscal hawks, those who didn't like the cuts in medical insurance. And there's going to be more of the same then, Molly. There'll be another split in the GOP in the House.
That's right. This bill, as you say, continues the 2017 Trump tax cuts, which were sort of the major accomplishment of his first term in office legislatively. And that has been a big talking point for the president and his allies, that because the tax cuts that were enacted in 2017 had a sunset, had an expiration date, if the Congress doesn't finish passing this bill, those tax cuts will expire at the beginning of next year. So every American who pays federal income taxes would see a tax increase if this bill or something like it doesn't pass to extend those tax cuts further. But that's very expensive. And the independent analysts, including the in-house analysts of the Congress, have concluded that this bill will add trillions of dollars to the deficit. Now, it does cut some spending, but nowhere near the amount of spending to offset those expensive tax cuts. And the spending cuts are primarily achieved by cutting the Medicaid healthcare program for low-income people. This is already a program that is not available to illegal immigrants. And there's been some additions to eligibility to it. Some work requirements that opponents of the bill say are just going to serve to kick people off of their health insurance. And some analysts have estimated that more than 10 million people could lose their health care. And one political concern that's been raised is that due to the way Donald Trump in particular has reshaped the Republican coalition to make it more a party that depends on the votes of lower income working class voters, there are a lot of Trump voters on Medicaid who might be displeased by the passage of this bill if it does come to pass that millions of people lose their health insurance.
Right, which has got some Republicans worried about their future when it comes to the midterm elections, upsetting many of their constituents. And on the other side, you've got the fiscal hawks who don't like the amount of debt that's being stacked up. And, well, no one bigger really than Elon Musk, who's now chimed in. He's threatened to start his own party as and when this bill goes through, threatened to pour his money into the fight against those who vote in favour of this legislation. I wonder how scared Republicans are about it. Well, we'll ask one. Jim Nicholson, former Republican National Committee chairman, who's on the line. Hello to you.
Hi.
Hello to you. Welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us. Let me ask you first about Elon Musk threatening to use his mighty wealth as a weapon against anyone, I guess especially Republicans, who vote in favour of this legislation and stack up debt. Is that a frightening prospect to you?
I have a lot of respect for Musk for what he has done, but he's really kind of a political neophyte and ham-handed in many ways, but a relevant sort of person in our country and our culture, given what he's done technology-wise. But he doesn't have a big following, and I don't have much fear of a third-party movement in the U.S. They just don't get legs anymore. Yeah. The parties have really established themselves at the grassroots, and they have a solid organization. Be very hard to penetrate that. But he's a voice, and I think he's a useful voice because I think the deficits and the debt are major problems for us. Yeah. We now pay more in interest on our debt than we do on defense.
Yeah, look,
we need to be spending more on defense.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
He clearly is a political neophyte, but he's a political neophyte with hundreds of billions of dollars to his name, and he used a lot of that wealth to help President Trump and the Republican Party achieve what they achieved at the last general election. If that becomes your enemy, that's going to be a problem come midterms, isn't it? Now, maybe Donald Trump can make it up with him again. But as things stand, it's the last thing you need at the moment is another feud with Musk's billions lined up against you.
Well, it's a long time till November 26, and I don't think Musk is going to be very cozy with the Democrat Party, which are much bigger spenders than we are, and the debt and the deficit bothers them less than it does the Republicans, even though it bothers this Republican too much because it's too high. But I'm not losing any sleep over Musk politically. I mean, it'd be better if he was aligned with the president because he's an important figure, and he's been very good to NASA, for example, and his aspirations in space and his efficiencies and the technology that he's achieved, as well as he started a car company from scratch at the same time he started a space company, and there are very few people could ever achieve that. So he's a very respected sort of figure on that basis, and he has an audience, so people listen to him. But when it comes time to cast the votes, I mean, in November of 26, it's going to depend on the economy of the United States, and we'll see what the price of eggs are, and
Yes.
gasoline and rents. And that's what's going
a
to
week
tell
as
the
they
tale.
say, a week as they say is a long time in politics. Tim Montgomery and Rachel Cunliffe are here with me, Tim.
Mr. Nicholson, I think I was at the 2000 Pennsylvania Republican convention, which I remember you speaking at, and I just some years ago, and the context though, how many bills have been passed since that time by Democrats and Republicans, which have added trillions of dollars to your debt and your borrowing. And I just wonder, I remember in 2000, the Republicans were much more the party of fiscal responsibility. Do you think there's any chance of that party returning to America?
I hope so. It should. It's not easy. I mean, given the need that we have to strengthen, bolster our defense budgets, which, that's very expensive. The technology is expensive, but in my opinion, very necessary. It's very difficult to roll back, these entitlement programs that are put on the books, and the Biden administration just opened the floodgate for, Medicaid to working or non-working young people that, heretofore haven't had Medicaid, didn't really need Medicaid, student loans. And so when you try to constrict that, it's a political challenge, it's a public relations challenge, and you have to find enough politicians that have enough backbone that will dig in and do that, and it's not easy politically.
All right.
It's a conundrum, but it's one that the Republican Party needs to face, because it's just gotten too high, and the interest on it.
Okay, well, Jim Nicholson, I've got to say, your politics is a daily fascination to us. It is unpredictable. It is turbulent. On both of those counts, it generally outstrips even our own. Except this evening, I think we're putting up a pretty good show of rivaling American politics here at Westminster. Jim Nicholson, former Republican National Committee chair, thank you so much for joining us.